preaching. Yay! When Ron first asked me to preach, I was kind of like, okay. I know it'll be good for me, but what do I talk about? Well, Ron's like, you can only preach about what you know. So I started thinking, and it really didn't take me long to figure out what it is that I know a lot about. So I know a lot about fear, which was my giant in my life. And so we are going to talk about fear. Fear. So what is fear? So this is just the definition of fear. A distressing emotion aroused by impending danger, evil, pain, etc. Whether the threat is real or imagined. It doesn't even have to be something real. It can just be something that is in your mind that you are imagining. The feeling or condition of being afraid. So it could just be a temporary feeling, or it could be something that is a condition. It's continuing on and it's affecting your life. The anticipation of the possibility that something unpleasant will occur. And then concern or anxiety, solicitude. Have you ever been so afraid that you felt paralyzed? Have you ever experienced fear that kept you from trying? Now I'm sure all of you can say that you have experienced fear before, whether real or imagined. Fear can be caused by real or imagined threats. Okay? So, these questions, have you ever experienced that threat? Well, such the case with the children of Israel. We're going to be in 1 Samuel 17, talking about David and Goliath. And I think all of us are pretty familiar with that story. We're going to start off a little bit down the line. The Israelites were all lined up for battle, and they're ready to go. And we're going to pick up where Goliath comes on the scene in verse 4. So let's just go ahead and read this together, guys. A giant, nearly 10 feet tall, stepped out from the Philistine line into the open, Goliath from Gath. He had a bronze helmet on his head and was dressed in armor, 126 pounds of it. He wore bronze shin guards and carried a bronze sword. His spear was like a fenced rail. The spear tip alone weighed over 15 pounds. His shield bearer walked ahead of him. And that's just a picture of a real-life spear that Goliath had. As you can see, it's very large. So we're going to keep going. Goliath stood there and called out to the Israelite troops, "Why bother using your whole army? Am I not Philistine enough for you? And you're all committed to Saul, aren't you? So pick your best fighter and pit him against me. If he gets the upper hand and kills me, the Philistines will all become your slaves. But if I get the upper hand and kill him, you'll all become our slaves and serve us. I challenge the troops of Israel this day. Give me a man. Let us fight it out together." When Saul and his troops heard the Philistines' challenge, they were terrified and lost all hope. I really like how the message said that last part. They were terrified and lost all hope. Have you ever experienced feelings of being terrified? Have you ever been so afraid that you lost all hope? Because I have. I'm going to share a story that happened in my own life. When I was 3, just to give you a little background, when I was growing up, our household was a bit tumultuous, I guess you could say. There was a lot of angry words thrown around, and as a young child, you don't really know how to process that. And so, on this one particular day, and I think it was sometime in the summer because it was pretty warm outside. But we were all inside. I don't know what all we were doing, but suddenly there was an eruption of angry words. My dad and my mom were arguing about something, and as a 3-year-old, just experienced all of that anger in the room. It was very terrifying. And next thing I know, my mom is gathering me and my brothers up, and Erin's running outside ahead of us, and my mom has Jeremy in her arm, and she's holding my hand and pulling me out the door too. And we're just getting out of the house. I don't know where we're going, but we're going to go somewhere. We're going to get out. And my mom pulls us out the door. She starts to help me go down the stoop, and then my dad starts shouting about how I don't have shoes on. Carrie doesn't have shoes, and she has to have shoes. So he storms out the door, and he grabs me, and he pulls me inside, back into that angry room that we were just in, and then throws me up the stairs to go get my shoes. And I just remember collapsing at the top of the stairs, just feeling so trapped and so afraid. Like, what did I do? Like, my shoes, like, I don't think I need shoes like that, but I was so terrified in that moment. There was no way of escape, no way for me to get beyond that feeling of fear. I don't even remember what happened after that. I just remember that feeling of terror, that feeling of being trapped in that moment. That day had a huge impact on my life, and in that moment is when fear really took hold in me, and I began to give it more control in my life. In many ways, that's the day I kind of stopped growing, I remained that terrified little girl on the inside, and my joy was stifled, and my confidence took a blow, So these are some verses that I think kind of just help to see what fear does in us. Proverbs 29:25. Fear of man will prove to be a snare, but whoever trusts in the Lord is kept safe. This part here, fear of man will be a snare. For me, it was definitely a snare. It held me back, and it held me captive in my own life, and it trapped me in. And while I thought at times I was trusting in God to keep me safe, I think God got in there at times. But as a whole, I was very much trapped in that state of fear. And then this, back. Wrong button. There we go. 2 Timothy 1:7. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but power and of love and of sound mind. I just find it interesting how all of these three things are tied in with this spirit of fear. Power. The fear can take away your power. It can hold you down, and it can keep you from recognizing the power that God has given you. Love. Fear can hide God's love from you. I was stuck in this mode of being. I was in this mode of being afraid. It was my pattern. It was the way I operated in life, and it blocked out the love that God had for me, and it stopped me from seeing that I was lovable. And sound mind. Fear can start to mess with your mind. It can start to change the way you think. It changes the way you move in your life. It changes the way you choose your direction. It affects all of that. But God has not given us the spirit of fear. No, it is not from God. Alright, so how is it that fear controls us? I found a couple articles by people, so these are not going to be my words, but I very much agree with what they said. One person, it was Rob Morris, and he's a motivational speaker and author, as well as a second article that I found by Susan Bailey, who is also a published author, that I stole their ideas. So, but here we go. So fear has the ability to paralyze us. It has the ability to keep us from moving forward. Just like me at the top of the stairs, I was immobilized. I was stuck in that state of fear. Could not move. Fear has the ability to control our daily behaviors and actions. Like I said, it starts to affect our thinking, and our thinking affects our behaviors. So fear has the ability to prevent us from making changes in life. Ties into that paralyzing feeling. It keeps us in that mode. It keeps us from moving forward, moving beyond. Fear has the ability to stop us from taking initiative, even trying something new or doing something different. And fear has the ability to prevent us from realizing the potential given to us by God. And So, I'm sure that everybody here can relate to at least one of those. So we're just going to take a few moments for you guys just to talk to your neighbor about how fear has affected you personally.